So last week I broke the D string on my Luna guitar here, and I haven't played since then, and I needed to change the string, and it occurred to me that when I was learning how to change strings, none of the videos that I saw on YouTube told me about a particular technique that a friend showed me, and I find that it helps. So I'd like to try to pass that along. So I've cleared a work area with a blanket down so that the guitar doesn't get scratched up by anything solid, and you need three things. You don't need this one, but it's kind of a pain in the ass without it. Guitar strings, you need pliers with a wire cutter, and I like the guitar peg. I don't know what you call this. They're like $1. And let's get started. So you only want to change one string at a time. If I used to, when I first started, take off all the strings and then try to put them all on, and what that does is it releases all the tension that's on this neck of the guitar. And a lot of times what we think of as our strings stretching in the beginning isn't actually our strings stretching. That's not why they're out of tune in the beginning. The reason that they're out of tune is because you've let all the tension off of the neck, and now there's like 600, 700 pounds of force when all the strings are on. If you let all that off, it kind of goes back to normal, and it takes a while for the neck to get adjusted to that 600, 700 pounds of force. So that's, the strings aren't actually stretching. That's what's happening. So I'm going to start with the D string because that's the one that broke. So like I said, you're going to do one at a time. You will just take one off and then put one on. Okay, so that's the D string, so I'll skip to my third one here. Get that out. Now we'll get the broken string all the way off. Okay. The other reason you need pliers, there is actually a better tool than pliers, but I've never had one, and that is, they're like acoustic guitar peg pullers. I don't know what they're actually called. I've never had one, and they're better for it, so if you can use those, I would use those. But you pull the peg out. Get that out of there. Throw away the old string. Okay, we got the new string. You're going to line it up like that. There's a little slot in the peg that the string goes into. So you put it in like that. Now, when I first was trying to change acoustic guitar strings, it was very frustrating. I thought that the friction of putting the peg into the peg slot or hole, whatever it's called, was supposed to be sufficient to hold it in place. But it's not. You have to actually hold your thumb down on the peg while you're tightening it up. And it can be tricky. And if you don't do that, you'll have generally happen to you what always happened to me, and you'd be 2/3 of the way through, and then ping, the peg will come out. and it was very frustrating. I used to pay to get my guitar restrung every time for a while, and then eventually somebody told me, "Oh no, that you're doing it wrong. You have to hold the peg down the whole time." So we did that first, put it in there, and we line it up into the slot here. Now let's line up this so it's straight. We can put the string straight in. Now this is the part that's different from how when I first started changing guitar strings, I didn't know about this. And so this is the part I actually want to get across, and that is how short to cut the string, because I used to just stretch it out like this and start winding it, and that's wrong. What you actually want to do is I measure out about 2.5 lengths of one peg to another beyond the peg that I'm at, and cut it about there. And the reason is that you actually don't want to start winding the peg like this, because you won't get very much stretch of the string. The string will last longer if you give it some slack here. Stick the string out about that much, and then push your thumb down here above the I don't even know what that's called, but you want to push a downward force on the string so that as you wind the string will go lower and lower down the peg, and that will keep the lower the string ultimately comes off of this peg, the better. It'll stay in tune better, it'll last longer. Okay, so then we use our peg turner while putting pressure down here with our thumb. We start to turn the peg. Now it's going to kind of hurt on your thumb a little bit. It'll kind of scrape it a little bit on the guitar string. And just keep putting that downward pressure, and you want to do this until all that slack that you left in the string is used up. Okay, so I can feel it's starting to get tighter there. So by doing that, the string has wound down the peg, and now is when you need to start putting your thumb on the, I think I'm calling these pegs too. Otherwise it'll start popping out. So I put a lot of pressure on it. And to try to get an idea of how far to stretch it on, I'll strum it. So obviously still needs to go higher. So that's about good for now. We'll tune it all at the end. Okay, so that's one. Now I'm going to go back down to the low E, and I'm going to take this string off. Sometimes I get nervous when doing this because I don't want to like immediately break the string by tightening it too quick. So part of this process is pulling up on the string to gently stretch it out. I usually do that a little bit more at the end when I'm tuning it. But if you ever think, wow, I'm doing this too quickly, you can do this, and this helps it not break. Okay, we'll finish tuning that later. So, grab our peg turner and do the A string. Straight in. Pliers, wire cutters measure about 2.5 distance. Pull the string back in. Press down firmly with our thumb and start cranking. Okay, so time to start holding down on the peg. Stretch that string out a little bit. Okay, we'll finish tuning that later. Okay, now the pegs are on the other side. And it should be noted that the strings always go to the inside of the guitar off the peg, so they don't go off to this side, they go off here. And that causes them to all line up just right. Okay, let's get this off. And I had made a note to myself to point out that the smaller the string is, the greater your chance of doing that. Yeah, the smaller strings are needles, which I'm sure if you've stringed your guitar before, I'm sure everyone's done this, but yeah, that hurt. A Naked Trucker Productions. Subscribe.